Welcome to the Gynergy Effect, where energy meets intention and transformation begins.
We're your hosts, Garin and Yessie, partners in life, love, and purpose.
Here to share the tools, truth, and stories that helped us build a life from the inside out.
Whether you're seeking deeper health, conscious relationships, or your next level of purpose,
you're in the right place. Welcome to the Gynergy Effect. We have a brand new, incredible episode that's about to kick off, that's going to dive deep and really open up your eyes to a few different things about life, about the hero's journey. And I'm so excited to have Brandon Turner on, because sometimes you connect with people on a deep level very quickly. You're vibrating into the same frequency. And that's how I felt when I met you. And I'm grateful to connect with you. I'm grateful to dive in deep. Welcome to the Gynergy Effect.
Thank you so much for having me. And the same, that's how I felt when we first met too, just seeing the light walking through the rooms, best dressed too, So
I got to keep up my style with you, bro. Like you got, you're unique in every way, man. And that's not developed easily in life. The greatest people that I've met in my life, the people that made the biggest impact in this world, have also went through the darkest, the deepest, some of the hardest places. And that's what created such a bright light within them. And so today, what my goal is really to dive in with you so that other people that may be listening today that are going through some of that darkness, that maybe question if they can get to that other side and really become that light. Having you be that example and you sharing your story and some of that stuff through that hero's journey that just has created you to be who you are today, that has this beautiful spirit about you, that has this self-assurance, that just really knows who you are. Because when we talk, that's obvious. And that doesn't come easily. That's not something that you can go to the store and buy. That's something that's earned throughout life. So I'd love to find a little bit of, about you in the origin story of, what your journey's been and really what's kind of crafted you. And, I always say iron sharpens iron, but what's really forged you to where you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. And like I said before, same energy with you. And that's a lot to try to break down. But I would say that through my struggles and my journey of the things that I've been through helped develop my character. And it was really mistakes and failure and learning from those mistakes and character defects, and also just lots of help from mentors and people who didn't give up on me, and family and friends who were there. Probably one family member, but that I believe all your character comes from your family and stuff too, but also a lot of trauma can come from that. So that helped shape me to who I am today.
Yeah. Yeah. When you say, sometimes I realize in life, we don't always get the opportunity to shout somebody out, somebody that made an impact. And when you say there was one family member that that was there for you, maybe in specific times, what was that relationship like? Who was that person?
Well, diving deep right away, my dad, Commander Michael I. Turner, and his consistency with his unconditional love for me showed me that it was possible and that I mattered and that I had a purpose despite what I felt about myself or things that happened to me or I went through, because things that took me a long time to realize that things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Mm-hmm. And it's your perception on what you can learn from that. And it seems so simple, but it took me a long time to correlate that with my purpose.
Yeah. So how would you say how's your relationship with your dad now?
It's great.
Yeah.
He's my number one supporter and has always been, and we've had our issues and problems and stuff, but it was from me and me acting out and being a kid, and also just I was drinking too much and partying and making the wrong decisions and being around the wrong people. But that was also part of my journey of growth, learning, and understanding.
And through all that, he was always there for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember I was devastated one time because I think I crashed into the car or something, and he said, I'm done with you. I'm washing my hands with you. And then that was like made me realize that I have abandonment issues. I created scenarios in my life to make my story true. And it took me a long time to realize that. Some people call it self-sabotaging, but that all came from trauma early on within the family. And we can get into that too, because that was a huge part of what led to some of my bad decisions and the way I was acting out. And it took me a long time to realize that.
So understanding at that time, you had a lot of pain from some abandonment. You had your dad that was your rock. Where did some of that pain from the abandonment stem from?
Well, it was, I grew up in a big family, 6 brothers and sisters. And to make a long story short, I was a baby. Everyone else was a grown up.
Yeah.
And my dad got stationed in Japan after the Gulf War. He was a commander in the Navy and all that stuff. And I was leaving all my family behind, all my brothers and sisters and all that. And then when we're at the airport, one of my sisters was there crying and screaming and hollering with my mom. And I'm just there with my dad, what's going on? And then she yells out, "That's my son." And so right then and there, I found out that my brothers and sisters weren't my brothers and sisters. They were
auntie and uncles. Yeah.
And my mom and my dad were really my grandparents. At the same time with this, I'm going to Japan, to a foreign land where I don't know anybody, with now my sense of reality just crushed. And now I feel like I don't even know these people. So that's what happened.
Wow. So you're in the middle of making a transition to a different country. Mm-hmm. Not knowing anybody, everything that you know is being left behind. You're separating from, your brothers and your sisters. You think at that time, going with your dad, not your mom, just your dad.
Both.
With your mom and dad, but leaving all your brothers and sisters that are a lot older than you. And then as you're making that trip, you find out that one of your sisters is actually your mother.
Yeah.
And then you don't even get the opportunity to really sit with her and dive into that because you're at the airport about to take off. How old are you at this time?
I was 6.
That's 6 years old.
Yes.
Wow.
And some people might say like, oh, that's a young age, but that made me grow up real fast.
Real fast.
Yeah. So right then and there, I was just like devastated, confused. My sense of reality was messed up. And then I was like angry. I was like, wow, like everybody in my life who I loved and cared for was lying to me the whole time. They're all in on it. And my mom and my dad too. I'm like, what's real?
Wow. Yeah. Your whole identity, the fabric of trust in your family in that one moment just got lit on fire. And you're 6 years old feeling, somewhat helpless, I would think. I resonate with that, and I want to share with you too, because I'm a big believer in being vulnerable with, and with each other. Is, one is my dad was my rock growing up. He was my hero. Mm-hmm. My mom, when I was growing up, she was on meth, and times I was around meth houses and stuff like that. My childhood was pretty interested in certain aspects. But my father, he basically kidnapped me, took me to my grandparents. And, it's amazing because my grandpa, he was in the Army, and he met my grandma in Japan, which correlates kind of the story too, brought her back. But my grandma was like my mom growing up. But because of that, I had so much trauma, abandonment issues, right? That ended up reflecting later on in my life that I had no idea how that was going to surface. And so when I hear you share this stuff, bro, it's like, it just brings me back to that time of being 6 years old. And what's crazy is today is actually my dad's birthday. And he passed away at 60, young. And that was tough, but I've actually established a new relationship with him that I'm super grateful for. But, you know, I think it's so important to take that moment, acknowledge, you know, the people that have been in our life that had that. And I'm grateful for you sharing that. So
yeah, that was and happy birthday to Pops.
Yeah, man.
And thank you for having me on your special day. You know, that's amazing. So
well, I think it's on purpose. Because
everything happens for a reason.
It is, man. The universe is funny that way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. So that was a big start in my journey because it was so traumatic. My first introduction to anxiety, mass fear, and just confusion. So I had to learn the tools how to come out of that.
Had to learn the tools how to come out of that. I'm sure that was, you know, I know for me, I know like what helped build my self-identity, what helped build my confidence is because I was, you know, things that were important to other people were not important to me, and other things were very important. And from those experiences. But the best thing that my dad did was get me into sports. That's where no matter what, I knew what I put in, what I learned is what I put into something is what I get out. And I also learned that my pain was my biggest blessing because I was very comfortable getting to places that other people just weren't comfortable being at, you know? And so that became, you know, kind of a superpower for me. And I know when we were talking, you know, you've obviously had an incredible career in different things and skateboarding and everything else. But how would you apply maybe some of that right then, those moments, to what's kind of what gave you that drive to be where you are?
Well, it was everything to give me that drive because there's never something for nothing, and energy has to go into something, and it's your decision on how you direct that. And this is the first time that I've figured out that, you know, like it had to go somewhere. So with skateboarding, immediately that amount of pain took away any fear from me skateboarding. So skateboarding is dangerous. It's scary. It's hard. And, you know, people are afraid of falling. And right away, I had zero fear because about that traumatic incident couldn't amount to anything. So it just put me on a level of trying and not having any fear. And skateboarding was my healthy release of endorphins. So that's how I transmuted that. And that was how I changed that situation into a positive. But at the same time, it was just masking the problem. It was a good mask, but I never got any therapy or learned how to take my own inventory and actually sit down with my family and work all this stuff out. I had to do it myself, and my tool was the skateboard. So that's how I ended up being so successful at it, because I just had no fear with it.
Just had no fear. And you know, fear is, you know, one of those things that end up being something to hold us back from really experiencing life. And there's so much opportunity when we live without it and we embrace, like I always say, open the door and welcome fear in and become very comfortable with it. And when you do that, life becomes limitless. And it sounds like you were able to tap into that at a very young age. So you're 6 years old, you just moved to Japan. What kind of happened from there?
I just had anxiety, and I was really just tripping. I was getting distorted with reality, as I didn't really know where I was at. Thought I was in China and kept saying Japan. You know, just got into it, started going to school and everything, but I just had this, like, you know, it's kind of like a breakup feeling, but it was way deeper and it wasn't going away. And, you know, my parents at the time did what they could do to help me while living their lives. And at even one point they put me on Ritalin, and that really just messed me up. Like it wasn't working. So I got off of that. And then I kept skating, going to school, and I got immersed into the Japanese culture. I met a brother over there, older skater, who started mentoring me, taught me Japanese, and taught me how to skate in the ways of the culture. And I really fell in love with that because it was something different from what I knew from America, just the honor system and the way they do things in Japan. So it gave me hope for a different way to live.
Gave you hope for a different way to live. So you were able to take maybe your old identity that you had there, being lost and kind of broken, because you just found out your sister was your mom and everything that your family told you was untrue or a lie. It would move to a new country. But the blessing is that in that country, there was a culture and somebody that you connected with that resonated with you deeply, and they gave you a framework and a structure to kind of reshape your identity and move forward.
Yeah, basically I accidentally reinvented myself. So that was cool and interesting, and it occupied my brain to something different and a new way of life and new culture and a different way of love, just with the small things in life, the way the Japanese do things and the intention they put into every little detail of love, abundance, and respect. Just the way someone hands you a gift or something, it's with so much intention and like so much power, no matter how small or big it is. Someone passing you a drink or something is like giving to you like really like intentionally. And so that really helped me to have some hope of different way of living and having trust for other things and other people, because I didn't trust anyone in my family or the ways American did stuff. And it was cool to see and learn and be embraced to a new culture.
Yeah, what a gift, right? I mean, what a gift. I mean, to get over there and be able to, like, one thing I want to tap into real quick is, like, you said that you kind of accidentally reinvented yourself, your identity, right? I think a lot of people probably listening right now, they attach their identity to maybe their past, maybe some failures they had, some traumas they had, or maybe just like where it is, but they don't attach their identity to what their vision is for their life, their future. They may not even know what that is, nor do they think they may not think that they're capable of that. What would you say to somebody listening right now, that some ways that somebody can create a new identity or a new framework within that they attach themselves to, so that if they're going through some of that hard time, they don't have to sit and live in that?
With words, it's kind of difficult, but if this resonates with anyone, and I'm sure people have said it, it's never too late to reinvent yourself. And I get that's just words, and people are like, okay, sounds good, but how? And it's kind of like you have to make the decision first, and you got to commit to that decision. And I would recommend, if something's anchoring you from your past, some trauma or pain that hurts you, then I would get some help. And if you can't, afford help, or you don't have insurance to get help, then speak to someone that you can trust and who's reliable, and or someone, or just even a stranger. Connect with someone where you want to be, and I would emulate that. And it's difficult to say, but it takes a lot of courage. Like, you got to be fearless with that and make the decision. And there's so many resources, and we got social media and stuff out there. So get part of a community with some people who align where you want to be and go. And if it's just yourself, start reading, start writing down where you want to be, start investing in yourself, treat yourself like a 9 to 5 and work on it, and you'll get results.
Treat yourself like a 9 to 5 and work on it, and you'll get results. And that's an ongoing process right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I get a lot of people are like, oh, I've already invested a lot of time and energy into myself. Why do I need to do that anymore? It's like, would you ever stop feeding your dog? If you don't go to the gym and work out, like, what do you think's going to happen to the results that you gain?
Yeah. And then a lot of people, they have family, they have kids, and, they feel stuck and all this stuff and this sense of responsibility. And I'll just say, like, forget what you're taught or told, and forget what your identity is like how you're supposed to somehow put yourself second for anything, because you're no good to anyone else without yourself. And I would say to people, like, you have to put yourself first, because what good are you to anybody without yourself? So people say, oh, my kids come first and this and that or the other. And I was the same way, but I'm just saying, like, that's not realistic, and that's ego. Like, you come first, and that's the truth. And anywhere you want to be in life. And of course, I only speak through my experience, but it makes sense. Like, you really have to make time for yourself. If you're working busy, you have a family life, there's one day a week you have to put aside for yourself. There's time you have to put away for your kids. There's time you have to put for your loved ones, but you need to come first. And people, I think that's the hardest thing people have struggle with, because somehow we're in this society that somehow you're supposed to fall on swords every day for other people, but it's not true. Like, if you're going to lead by example, especially if you have kids or anything, if you're going to lead by example, and you want your kids to put themselves first, then you need to put yourself first. Because if you're sacrificing stuff for anybody else, that's going to resonate, and then they're going to do the same thing, and the cycle's never going to stop.
You got to break the cycle and be the example.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you're not taking care of yourself, then how are you going to show up for other people in the way that you desire?
Absolutely.
And your kids are watching, right? So if I'm telling you, hey, do this for you, like, invest into yourself, but I'm not investing into myself, are they going to take that serious, or are they going to take that as being hollow words? It's like, you have to live what you speak and speak what you live.
Yeah, it's difficult too, because everyone's situation is different, and it's complicated, and it's hard for me. Like yesterday, I ate minimally in the morning and went and got busy with my day and put all these other things ahead of myself, because I didn't take the time to sit and eat correctly, or drink enough water. I ended up with a headache at the end of the day because I was too busy for myself, and that was my own fault. And I really had to, like, face that and just be like, I did this to myself. And that's just kind of an unconscious way of, like, self-sabotaging. Yeah. Like, why did I do that? So we talk about the why. There's a lot of whys. And why would I do that to myself? If I claim to love myself, and why would I not drink no water, eat a banana, and just go 1,000 miles an hour? Like, that's insanity.
I think it's really interesting too. You just, like, Kaya, she's, our dog, amazing dog, right? But people with dogs are so particular about the food they feed themselves. Mm-hmm. Or feed their dogs.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And not giving them certain things, but yet do they look at this fuel and the nutrients that they put in their own body that way? And a lot of times they're not feeding themselves properly. They're not, taking the time to make sure they're good, but they'll put all that energy into somebody else And I think that resonates with me so much because in my own journey, I've been to a place that I gave everything to everybody else, thinking that was the right thing as a man to do, as a leader to do.
Absolutely. I get that. And it's just, yeah, I see people putting more energy into things that are a reflection than them rather than focusing on what's casting the reflection.
That's that identity piece. Like my identity was so tied up into these other things. And then when that ended up shifting and I had trouble with that, and I felt like the consequences were so great because I didn't understand myself in the way that you're talking about. And it took a lot of like deep reflective places to really get to the other side of that. But I want to dive in. So you're in Japan, you meet somebody that's older than you, and he introduced you into
the culture. And from there, we just start getting to it. And I was there, and we were locked in forever. His family, my family, they kind of unofficially adopted me. And then my goal was to be a professional skateboarder so I could be free from the people I was under, my family. I was just like, I'm going to make money and show
what you can do.
Show them that they
show you their value, your value.
Absolutely.
You improve that.
So right when I got back to the States, I was 13 and immediately got sponsored and aligned myself with some people who I knew were the best. And long story short, like things just started progressing after that. Since I was 13, I've been self-sufficient because I started making money right when I was 13. And then it was just off to the races from there. So this is like, that's when it really starts with everything going out, coming back in, and then coming up.
It was like, I think it was Mike Tyson. He was talking about, when you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil. And when you go to the dance, leave with the one that took you, right? And so I think what you're saying by that is, as we go through and we go through these different stages of life, and we have this part of us that drives us to prove something that's like this undeniable fuel that will run us through the fucking wall. That same thing can be the part, if we're not careful, that can take us down a whole nother pathway to an extreme.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you want to talk about maybe a little bit of that progression of life of like, you're 13, you're starting to get all this success, this recognition, you're going through that aspect of life. Now comes a responsibility that maybe you're not understanding or ready for at that point.
Absolutely. So with my trauma before I got transmuted to skateboarding, my dreams came true. Got sponsored right away. Around like 15 and 16, started drinking, partying, having fun. I was already traveling the world with we built the biggest skateboard teams the world's ever seen. We set trends. I was designing. I had inventions, did stuff that's only been done for the first time that you see going on now in the world. Like we started that as far as fashion and just innovation with music and everything. So when I was 18, I turned pro, and then that's when I started getting into trouble. I got my first DUI, and then, I had money, so I had lawyers, and it was just, I felt like I was untouchable because I was running my own show now. I was the actor, director, and producer. And that's what we call the director's role. And that's a problem I had to learn on later on in life, is when you think you're the actor, the director, and the producer of your world, and somebody ain't fitting the script right, and you get mad and take it personally, like you got to realize like it's not your show. And you're only responsible for yourself. So I was the actor, director, and producer in a lot of aspects of my life. And later on, I realized that was the negative part. So I'm 18, get my first DUI, and then it just started progressing from then. I kept being super successful and all that, but I started getting in trouble. Started getting DUIs now, charges. I'm smoking a lot of weed and, hanging around with the wrong people. Just on both sides of the fence as a professional athlete and in the streets, hanging around with gang members and people selling drugs and all that stuff. And that caught up to me quick because now you are who you hang around with, right?
That's right.
So I realize now I want to be accepted so much by my culture and as a professional that I was willing to put my own integrity and self-worth and freedom at risk for it, just because I wanted that acceptance from my, other people of color and gang members and all this
culture,
stuff.
Yeah. That was resonating with you at that moment. You went from being in America to Japan, a new culture, something to prove. Then you went back, you're riding at the top. Now it's like the whole culture that you're resonating with and everything else. You have the ability to go create whatever you desire. So now you're up at a whole nother level. You're feeling like there's no restrictions on that. Now you're being around other people that feel the same way maybe, but in a pathway that can take you down the wrong place because there are no restrictions, has different types of consequences. Yours is you're building a life based on the skills that you produce, the stuff that can transcend and translate out. They're building a life that's based on a place that can bring them to a lot of really negative places you can't come back from.
And absolutely. And the reason for that too is like I wanted to help people. I wanted to help bring people to where I was at and teach them what I learned and educate them on culture and how to get out and all that stuff. But it doesn't work like that because for one, to like lead anyone, you need permission.
Say that again one more time.
To lead anyone, you need permission.
Man, that right there can save so many people, including I battled with this for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people coming to that realization sometimes takes so much pain and so much disappointment, resentment, anger. And it's like you can't move people that don't want to be moved.
Not at all. And people have to want help, and it's their responsibility to ask for it too. When I was growing up, it's a lot of ego, like having a mentor or something or asking for help was looked at as weakness. Like, oh, I'm a man, I'm supposed to stand on my own 2 feet and do it myself. But as we were talking about before, there's nothing in this world you can do alone.
Yeah.
Everybody needs help in one way or the other. So that's where I made a mistake, is just aligning myself with the wrong people, trying to help people who didn't want to be helped. So in turn, started getting in trouble, started getting DUIs, doing a little time, days at a time in county jail and stuff till ended up jumping off a bridge, breaking my leg, running from the cops. And then a year later from that, ended up getting ran over by a car at a party, like really my kind of celebration for going pro party before I turned pro, and ended up getting hit by a car, breaking my other leg, and dying and being on life support and just in a coma. Like, that's what I put myself through to the extent of how far I went with just being in the wrong people, places, and things. So it took me a long time to realize that all this trouble I was getting into, all this acting out, I never addressed what originally set this off was my identity crisis. And then later on, like, I eventually ended up in prison because all my charges stacked up, and did 17 months in prison. And it was the worst and the best thing that's ever happened in my life, because a lot of people never have the opportunity to have everything taken away from them and just sit with themselves and see who they are. So I took that time to just read and study and learn, and I treated it like school. And I learned a lot. I ended up firefighting in there, being a part of CAL FIRE, and that was an amazing experience. Shout out to all the firefighters and the hot shotters. It's one of the hardest things to do ever. I got that opportunity and I used it to study. So if I can go back, I want to change the thing, because that was part of my journey and it was necessary for me to look at myself and really see what my purpose was and everything. And then, I got out and I still didn't do the work. I still didn't get that help. And I eventually got a mentor, got some help, learned how to do my inventory, went through resentment inventory, sex inventory, relationships, just went through everything and was able to break it all down and see what it was in all these resentments. Was it fear? Was it not good enough? It's usually one of those things. What
two powerful ones, yeah.
Yeah, what resentment is. And then I was able to go through everything and where I was responsible, where they're responsible. And only look at where I was responsible. And anyone does this, surprisingly, there's a pattern. There's a pattern. And I recognize this pattern and I'm like, everything, no matter what happened in my life, whatever I was resentful for, there was something that was common in every situation. There I was. If I were to remove myself from any of these situations, what if any of this happened to me? What, besides me growing up and being little, that was the anchor of stuff, and that's different. But anything afterwards was my decision, and I had to come to terms that it was my fault every single time. Yeah, someone could have did something to you or whatever in your life in certain circumstances. Yeah, but all the little stuff, it was my decision. It was my fault. It was my choice. I was there. So take myself out of any of those situations. Would there have been an issue? No. So it had me really dive deep and able to see everything and take my own self inventory and let it go, release it, forgive, and have that tool so I can move forward. And I didn't realize that I thought the stuff from my childhood was done. I'm like, oh, I'm over that. I don't care. I'm successful. No, there's still deep pain that I never worked on. So me learning a whole lot later, all of this stuff, good and bad, stemmed from that, and all because I didn't get the proper help.
Man. Oh, God. This is just like, bro, one, I'm just so grateful for the depth that we're getting to, because you're giving a masterclass really to anybody listening right now on just this journey of life and the ascension, because we go through these different ups and downs and realizations, and you went through it and it had to be very painful for you. Like the lessons that you learned were very painful. I mean, from your injuries to going to prison to the hurt that really, it just resonates. One thing that you said, and I say all the time too, like when you get to the point of life where you really realize it's not what happens to me, it's what happens for me. Mm-hmm. And these things in life become the biggest blessings. And when we detach our identity from these different things, and then we really understand, like, we create the world inside of us and around us, and we have that responsibility. The empowerment that comes from that is huge. And you can feel that within you, bro. Like I can feel your energy that radiates outside of you, because it's just so pure, because to me, it's so obvious that you very much understand yourself and you're very comfortable in being that, and you've done that work. And I'm so grateful to be around you in that way, because it helps, it fuels me as well. Right. And I hope that I fuel you in that same way, bro, because
absolutely,
that frequency is just so powerful. I want to ask you something. When you were in prison, and do you feel like that was almost the most free in a way that you've been as well?
Yes and no. I mean, I was confined physically, but they say, you know, you can confine your body, but not your mind. And that's the truth, because it forced me. Some people go in there and it can go completely opposite. They'll get on medication. They'll get on sleep meds to numb themselves, and they'll wake up to eat, wake up for their meds, and they'll sleep their time away. There's one thing that happened when I was in the cell. There was these holes, and I was in solitary confinement for overcrowding. So, and I was in there for 4 months.
Wow.
And I was like trying to get the only way you can get out of the cell is to go to the dentist or to medical. So I was trying to schedule something every week. And to even get the paperwork to fill out and everything was a whole day mission too, trying to bang on the door and get a guard to give you the paper, get the paper, holding it outside of the cell so they'll hopefully get it, and then they got to call you for the appointment. I was trying to get on sleep meds. I'm like, I need to be going to sleep in here. And I remember there's the whole like tiny hole that goes to the other cell, and there's someone who's been in prison before, and I'll never forget it. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to get on, you know, it's hard to sleep. Like, I was trying to sleep my time away too, you know, and this guy, he's like, oh, what you going to medical for? Everything, oh, I'm gonna get on sleep meds and try to get on something, you know, like just to go to sleep, just sleep meds and stuff. He's all, don't take them pills. You're gonna come out different. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, what you mean different? Different. And I was just like, oh, wow. And I remember when I know some people went to prison and they come out and they're not the same. So at that time, I had to bite the bullet and just be with myself, like without cheating. And there was like one book in there, and it was the Bible and an AA book. And I just started breaking it down and reading that. And that's what I had. And then as time went on and I had that time, I was able to order books, and I just started going from there and just studying and transcribing the books and just learning. But being with yourself, like, yes, it ended up being easy. That's what you're asking, right? Like if it was easy or
freeing.
I was free because it really put me in a place to make me realize what I really took for granted. Right. And that was freeing. To know that being free is not, it's a privilege. It's not a right. And it can get taken away anytime. So that perception really was freeing to me in there. Just being able to break down what this is and what a system is. And people say, look at jail as such a bad thing and confinement and stuff, but we're all confined in one way or another. There's just more space out here. And that's what was the most freeing thing. Same system that goes on in prison with the division, racial, politics, all that stuff is the same thing out here. There's just bigger borders.
Yeah, man. There's something for us to dive into a little bit right there. You know, I mean, there's so much I feel like we could talk about this stuff for forever.
Absolutely.
I feel like that voice that went through that hole, I feel like that was God's voice speaking to you. Because who knows if you didn't hear that one thing, you know, where you would be right now. It's interesting, these little micro moments.
Yeah, it was a big moment. It did feel like it was God because his voice changed.
That's wild. That's wild. Thinking about that right now, bro.
Yeah.
Like just that moment right there, you needed to hear that.
I did.
In that one moment.
And you got to realize, like, people don't know if you get on certain psych meds, just because it's really hard. You have to have a really strong mind to be some people break. They can't handle it. There's people screaming and hollering in the vents. I'm not supposed to be here. All that.
Yeah.
You know? Just people get broken there and they get on psych meds. And you got to realize if you're on the database to come out into society and you're on certain psych meds, then you're deemed insane and you got to be on disability.
So you're branded at that point.
Absolutely.
Some things it's just not that easy to come back from when you take the easy way out.
At the same time, there's so many people that are locked up that aren't supposed to be there. And they're not built for it. And they don't have, there's not a proper evaluation to see what type of punishment and structure of rehabilitation is necessary for someone.
Yeah, I feel like we could dive into that for a long time because I always say who people are and where they are in life could be very different, right? And so just because somebody was here at one moment in their life and they made a decision, and they could have made 1,000 decisions before that were all in perfect alignment, but that one decision put them in this place. And now for them to go in that place and now be focused on, us like just setting up a place where we're not treating people, like human beings, like humanity, and we're not rehabilitating, but we're boxing somebody in. Like, what would you say would be ways that could be improved where, you go to just other cultures and countries, like here, prison system's a big business. And granted, some people, they deserve to be locked in for the crimes that they commit in certain ways. But a lot of people, how much better off would we be if we put in the energy and the time and effort to rehabilitate and really have them invest into themselves? Because not everybody can do it on their own. Sometimes people need that mentorship and that guidance.
Yeah, I agree. I think, to be honest with you, there's a lot of people who are doing the work for us to have a better system and stuff, but it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And you got to make a living, and they're not really paying for that. And I would say that nowadays, like, a lot of people just aren't concerned with it. They don't care, and they're worried about themselves. And that's what I think a problem in our society is too. Some people could say they care and all this stuff, but they're only concerned if something's bad happens to them or something extreme, then they have opinion about it. But just what about the people who are in jail who are innocent? Like, what about the people who are in jail for weed doing on a third strike for a light? Now it's legal and they're still doing 15 years for that. Like, there's so many things within the system that I don't agree with, but like, unless we, the people, start having these communities and building from there, working together for aligning with people for your same beliefs and initiatives and start taking action on that, I don't think anything will change. But that's why me and you are here right now, because we met at a retreat and now we're connecting and building, and that's what it's all about.
Taking action. They can be inspired. Once you're inspired, taking action behind it. It could have been really easy for us to connect, and then that word ends up dying, right? But we took action behind being intentional, staying in communication, saying, hey, like, we got a lot to share with each other. We got a lot that we connect with. How do we spread that out, right? And so it's just, a lot of times we're inspired, but the action behind it, if we don't take that action, it just dissipates out. And so it's when we get that opportunity, and that's why I'm grateful that you're here, because, bro, there's so much that you share that just resonates. Your voice, the more it gets out into the world, the better this world is.
Thank you.
And that comes from the pain that you've been through, figuring out your journey. And there's people that are going to resonate with that journey, and there are people that don't relate to that journey. But the people that resonate with that journey, that inspiration, that thing, can shorten that window of that pain that you had to go through, that they can maybe avoid, right? Everybody needs, or desires somebody that can help be either that example or that mentor that you had, like when you went to Japan. It sounds like there's been a couple different places that these people, their influences really shifted, something inside you in the direction of your life.
Yeah, Japan was like the best thing that's ever happened to me, because I got the opportunity to go somewhere emerge in a different culture, and it's part of my identity now. And so some things, how I might do things or be, or it just, some people won't understand. And, people got their phones and stuff, they could research and everything, but it's different when there's no social media and you're growing up somewhere in the 90s and you have these traumatic experiences, and we just got out of a war and your dad's away for months or years at war on a ship and can't get a hold of him. And then, and then all of this happening same time. It's like, I'm very grateful, and I'm grateful for the pain. I'm grateful for the lessons, because it shaped me to who I am today. And to speak on that, like, it still comes up. It's constant work.
Constant work.
It shows up in friendships, relationships, decision-making. Like, even I realized, even making bad decisions in my relationship with, like my girlfriend or whatever. Like, it's just like the trauma comes up and the decision and the abandonment and all that comes up, and you got to constantly work on it, and you got to recognize it. And same thing with me. I still have to, it's my responsibility to ask for help when I'm off. And this comes back up because it's such a part of my past anchor of who I was. It will creep up. There'll be certain scenarios that will happen, and then I start not trusting. I start not believing. I start living in my head, and that's not a good place. And I've recently had to do some work on some decisions I made that it didn't align with who I am. And nobody's perfect. It's just recognizing, being able to take responsibility, and I have the tools to fix something or something in myself when it starts to break down.
How do you start to recognize that? Because I have my mom leaving me and that stuff when I was a little kid, and I dealt with a lot of those abandonment issues. Mm-hmm. And I understand the surfacing, and then I got to a point where recognizing those patterns, and then instead of like fighting it, I embrace it and I sit with it, and it allowed me to then be able to address it and be proactive with it.
Maybe you can resonate with this. For me, with what I went through, and this is a little secret, and I think it's important to say. So me being in a relationship with, this is my old thoughts, me being in a relationship with my woman or whatever, there was a time in my life to where I was like, I will never fully 100% open up all the way. I need to keep my protection and a little bit of this for me, just in case somebody tries to do me dirty, that I'll know and I'll be ready, right? That's no way to live.
No way to live.
That's no way to live. And I'm sure you can resonate with that. It's like there's always like a piece, and that's how I would think. Like, I'm going to reserve myself in these most vulnerable areas just in case, because I don't want that to happen again. And that's where I went wrong, because that will start creeping up. I'll stop communicating, and that's not good. But I read a book in prison by Brene Brown, I believe it is. I think it's called Daring Greatly, and it's about the power of vulnerability, and that taught me a lot. And I still have to work on that, because I had a powerful anchor when I was growing up. So you just, all we need is love.
All we need is love, baby. Light and love.
Yeah.
I at this point in my life too, I'd rather be vulnerable and then know if something was going to happen, like allow that to happen and be okay with that because I know who I am. And in that vulnerability, that's where I derive that strength. And then I find out very quickly what somebody's intentions are. So if somebody has bad intentions and I'm vulnerable, I'd rather know sooner
than later. Yeah.
Because all you're doing is kicking the can down the road when you're holding something. And then you actually attract. I don't know if that resonates with you, but with me in my life, when I'm like holding on to something, then I attract what I'm trying to not have happen. Right. They're like, but when I let go, that's when I allow abundance to come into my life. And I'm not sure how that has kind of been through your journey of like every time, because a lot of things that we've created in our life is because our sheer will of just that perseverance and that determination. But at a certain point, that actually becomes counterintuitive and out of alignment and balance, right?
Yeah, I think it's important to have boundaries and all that and have that conversation with whatever personal relationships, colleagues, friendships. You just have to have what you stand for and your boundaries. And if it comes up, you need to be vulnerable. And nothing's ever going to be perfect, but it's all a learning experience. We're on this journey together. But if I don't know and you don't tell me, that's kind of a problem I would have too. It's just like trying to thinking people are mind readers. Like, you know me, you know what I'm about. Why didn't you do this? Like, yeah.
But did I communicate it?
Yeah. But you still didn't communicate. Like with coffee. Yeah. Like, I go get a coffee and you're like, what's up? Why didn't you give me coffee? Like, I wanted a coffee. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Why didn't you ask me? That's rude. Like, just that stuff, that's why communication's so important.
And communication's key. Yeah. The better that's one of the biggest indicators, I think, of success in life is how great of a communicator are you and how much intention do you put in the way that you communicate.
And I struggle with that too. That's not one of my strongest suits. And I can be vulnerable and admit that. And I could say excuses. I have so much going on. I'm so busy, and we're all busy. It's just, I'm just grateful I'm able to recognize the things I need to work on.
Right. Because recognizing it is the first pathway to solving. Many times the first thing is understanding the question to ask. And then once you understand the question to ask, you can create the pathway to create the answer.
Yeah.
Right. What would be some of the things, because we dove into a lot of just that hero's journey, right? And so when we talk about the hero's journey, there's like, start at this bottom, you crawl, you take this journey up, and then you hit these different pitfalls of life, and we've kind of went through the extensions. But we didn't really talk about kind of the highlights. And I'd like for people that are listening to really kind of understand, and I know this is maybe a little bit out of character for you right now, but I would like to, some of the stuff that you look back at, and like, these are moments that, you earn these moments of time, right? There's a lot of pain, sacrifice, and everything else. And a lot of it we want to detach our ego from, and I get all of that, right? But what are some of those moments in time that like you accomplished something that you didn't even know that you were able to, or you surprised yourself in life because of that drive and that belief that you had?
Like, I'll just say with 100% humility, like, through all of this pain and stuff was the equal amount of success. Like, I fulfilled every single one of my dreams. Like, my childhood dream, I'm still living it.
Living it right now.
Yes. I'm a professional skateboarder. I, won SLS Trick of the Year, like, been best teams multiple years in a row. Like, I've been a designer for #1 brands. I came up with the first mobile sound system, had a patent on it for 10 years.
That's sick.
It's like been on tour all over the world, and just been a part of the biggest companies in fashion and innovation, and met the coolest people. And just like, what the most important is though is like friends and traveling and seeing different cultures and how they live. And I'm not talking about off an app. I'm talking about really being immersed in the streets, sitting on the ground, with people and eating with your hands.
Being in that moment.
Yes, absolutely. So with all of this and stuff, I've had tremendous success. And even after people counted me down and out after prison and stuff, my prime was like when I was like 18 and stuff, but I surpassed my prime in my late 30s. I'm a better skateboarder than I was when I was 18, by far. And I'm way more successful. I help others, a mental health substance abuse facility. So I realized that I've went through all this journey for a reason. And the reason why I went through this journey was to be able to relate with anybody I come in contact with. My experiences and struggles aren't just about me. Like, it's about, like I said, before it was skateboarding, and that was for me, to get that out of me. And everything that I've learned, I can really relate with almost anyone, like whether they're a parent, been through mental health struggles, been to jail, abandonment. I just feel like I'm more connected to everybody because of the struggles I went through. And I'm so blessed that it's living proof, because I have my facility now and it's working, and I'm able to meet people on their terms at some level and be able to relate with them. So it's just, I use that energy just to give back and help people. And even when I go through struggles and I make mistakes, I turn that into, okay, what did I learn from this, and how could I help somebody else who's going through the same thing?
Become the light for many lives.
So life's been amazing.
Yeah. But
it's been painful.
Yeah. So let's say you're about to start, you're in a competition, or you're about to pull off a trick that you've been training, or, it's like that one moment that, like, this is where everything matters, right? Mm-hmm. What goes through your mind, or what is like your do you have like a pre-checklist or whatever? So, maybe they're in competition, whatever it may be, right? And they're right before they go, it's like that moment. Do you know that moment? I know that moment. It's like, how do you show up at the best in those moments? Because obviously you have a track record of doing that.
Yeah, I just, I don't eat too much. I eat light, which is like a banana and a coffee, because I don't be too heavy. I get good sleep. I meditate before. As far as like skateboarding, I visualize. I see myself doing it. I have the belief, and I show up and I stay focused. And so with everyone else there, whatever, it's just get out of my way. And that's how I think. And I'm not stopping for anyone. But the preparation is visualization, rest, meditation, proper diet, and support. Like my boy Ephraim last time when I won the best trick at the Red Bull thing a few weeks ago, like he's seen the whole preparation. It was just me and...
shout out to Ephraim.
Yeah. Just me and my filmer. We went, checked in the hotel, checked the course, ate properly, meditated. Me and Ephraim went and got our wrist bracelets, checked out the schedule, and we went and handled business.
And so much of that has absolutely nothing to do with physically skateboarding. It has to do with the mental, the spiritual, visualization, like connecting yourself into that moment so that you're locked in, so that there's nothing else, you're just present. And it sounds like all those things that you do help get you locked in so that you can be present for that moment and almost be in that flow.
Absolutely. And as far as like, I already know how to do what I want to do. Like, yeah, stretching, breathing, hydrate, that all matters. It's like doing the act is like last.
So if there's a young skateboarder or somebody that's, in a sport that like you have that one opportunity and to execute at the highest level in that one opportunity, what advice or what would you give them guidance wise to help them prep from a mental standpoint?
I would say just like make sure, even when you're young and stuff, you feel like you can do a lot more to your body. But if you start younger, getting the right sleep and setting your intentions as in your youth, like that's going to make you have that much more longevity later. Diet is huge. It's one of the most important things. It's your fuel. You are what you eat. And I would just do your own research and look into what you're eating. And most of the time people go throughout the day just eating whatever they feel like. But the way I eat is it's my medicine. It's the most important thing. My kitchen is like dialed. It's the most important part of my house. And I would get into that, stretch, get some mentors, definitely work out. And yeah, I would recommend doing Pilates.
I love Pilates.
Yeah.
Pilates is legit, bro. That's how has Pilates impacted your life?
Change the game, change everything. Oxygenate your blood, full body integration, everything you need to be an athlete at a high level.
I know Pilates for me, it realigned me. Like I would have my foot would pull in like this and started doing Pilates, and now it's just out right, and I've broken my back, I've broken my neck, almost had my arm amputated.
Whoa.
Bro, I've
what
been
happened?
got in a motorcycle accident, almost died. I was on this highway going about 55 and heading up this crest. There was a light. This guy had to yield to make a left turn. Right at the last second, pulled out in front of me. I went boom, straight into the side of the truck, like dead boom. Like think about sprinting as fast as you can, diving in. But my helmet split open, my whole arm almost was amputated. Like this whole bone was outside of it. Had so much asphalt and stuff. Like, the craziest part, and it's a longer story, but I'll keep it really short, is the surgeon on call at the hospital just happened to be a world-renowned elbow specialist. They said if he wasn't there, they would have just amputated it. Ooh. And when I woke up, I was just so grateful because I thought I was dead.
Yeah.
I mean, right before, like when that happened, I knew that it was the craziest part is I had no control over the outcome. Like whether I was dead, alive, paralyzed, nothing I could do. So when I woke up.
But you were aware right before, like, oh.
Right before, yeah, I was aware that this could be the last moment. I've had a couple of those in my life, and so.
That's why I love motorcycles, but I can't get one. Like,
yeah.
It's
with your DNA too. It's like
I just don't have like any like fear. Like I will
through
some stuff,
Yeah, that's it's like what they say because I've had razors, motorcycles, dirt bikes, quad. With age comes a cage. Mm-hmm. So having taking calculated risks at certain points in life become very important. Mm-hmm. But I still have a bike. I still ride sometimes. But I'm very particular about it, but certain things are just going to be outside of our control, and so being okay with that. But because I love when I'm on a bike, it's like nothing else in the world exists and I'm just at peace, and now there's other things that I do that help create that in my life as well, and one of the things that I have that I'm so grateful for is my fiance, man, like becoming the person that attracted her into my life. But it took a lot of work, like what you're talking about with relationships and stuff, I want to walk through real quick with you. What are some of the practices, and we've touched on it, but let's say for a day for you, because you're a lot like me in optimizing things and really, trying to get every ounce of stuff from it. What were some of the things that like your habits or routines? I call them rituals because when you combine a habit with intention, to me, that's a ritual. That's how I describe that. But what would be some of those things that you do that help create the best outcomes for you in life?
I meditate, pray, meditate. I exercise. I take care of I pay attention to what I'm putting into my body, and I pay attention to what I put in my body. And when I say that, people have a lot of opinions on whatever, because I'm vegan and stuff. So that's super important. And I love meat too, but it's a conscious decision based on just what's going on. And this is just the facts. It's not, and I'm not going to get into that, but that is the most huge part in my life, because I had to heal myself through ways that doctors just couldn't.
Right.
And it was through the food. So I'm living proof of that. So what you eat is like, you are what you eat.
So
like,
important.
Just know that. Like, and I journal and I read. I stay connected. I don't isolate. Willing to just learn and, have mentors, have surround myself with like-minded people who want to do the same things in life, and just try to be a good person.
I mean, you're intentionally creating impact in the world. And, at the end of the day, when you leave this world, what is important for you to be remembered for?
Like legacy-wise, my skateboarding, obviously, and just using my experience, strength, and hope to help others and make a difference for the greater good. That's what I want to be remembered for.
Wow. I mean, for sure you're on that pathway, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm probably, this has fueled so much fire inside of me, and that strength that you have is very obvious. And there's a gift that God has bestowed upon you to share with the world. And I know you don't have any fear around it, but I would just feed however I can into you to go spread that, bro, because there's a lot of people that need to hear, and a lot of people that can resonate with you. And there's not enough people in the world that are sharing that. And so I just want to thank you. And before we end, is there anything, any last words, any thoughts that you'd want to leave for everybody?
Yes, I would say, usually when we're going through difficult things, we think we're the only ones going through them, but it's not the truth. I would reach out to a loved one or anyone, or just even look online, because you'll be surprised at the people going through the same things, and unfortunately worse. So just know, everybody, there's help out there, there's support, and you got this.
Got this. If somebody wanted to reach out to you for one of, any of your endeavors, or maybe just, to connect with you in a certain way, how do they do that?
If anyone's struggling with substance abuse or mental health, they can reach me at Brandon at Westside Recovery SD.com. And my Instagram is bturner_. And, if you're struggling with mental health or substance abuse, or any loved ones, feel free to reach out. My company's Westside Recovery, and that's what we do there.
If this resonated with you, I'll prompt you, take action. Take action. And when you're inspired, or do you have that voice inside of you? And if you're listening to it and you're like, maybe I'll do it later. Do it now. Do it right now. Take that action. Reach out. Reach out to somebody that may be struggling, that you can share the way that Brandon shared with us today. I'm just, again, so grateful. I'm looking forward to the next time that I have you on here. We're gonna do this again.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel the same. The feeling's mutual.
Today was a masterclass, bro. Like the vulnerability and the feelings that you gave. I just want to say one last time, I'm so grateful. I'm excited to see how we can continue to feed in one another.
Thank you, brother.
So thank you for tapping in today, spending this time with us. I know both of us are really grateful. Your guys' time is valuable. and you shared it with us today. So we're grateful for that. Please share this with anybody that you think needs to hear this message, and follow us on Instagram, on YouTube, and subscribe. Thank you guys. Till next time.
Thank you.
If this episode spoke to your soul,
share it with someone you love and tag us at the Gynergy Effect. We'd love to connect.
and remember, your energy is your power. Use it with intention.